What's up, my good peeps? This your boy Sway, back with another video, and I'm back. I know it's been a minute since I came out with a video, and it's because I've been busy lately, and I got some big news for y'all. But before I talk about that, we're gonna jump right into this reaction video. Well, I'm gonna react to a video that I saw posted from, his name is Jared Wadbaum, I think Wadbaum, and he posted a video about how he got his system installed by an audio shop and how they messed him up and all of this. So let's jump right in.
Story time. I started emailing a stereo shop that claimed to be the experts.
See right there, when I see this car right here, I'm like, okay, he got himself a nice little, what, that looks like a Trackhawk, I believe. Probably not a Trackhawk, it's probably the SRT8. And based on what I'm looking at, I'm like, damn, he's actually finna put a system in that. So I wonder if he's gonna race it or not, because adding on that, gotta be pretty heavy. So that's gonna take away some of, probably a couple seconds off of his quarter mile. So let's keep going, let's see what he has to say.
But they were definitely not. I will not mention the shop. To get my full refund and my vehicle back to stock, they made me sign a contract so I wouldn't write bad reviews or talk badly on social media.
That's crazy. They give you bad work, but they don't want you to leave a bad review for them. Like, that makes no sense. Like, you should be able to tell other people what your experience was so that they could know whether they should come to you or not.
Or they would ask me to pay to be reimbursed from their F-up. I could light them up because they failed to fix it properly, and it was not back to OEM standards, and did not follow through with their end of the contract. Wires that should have never been cut were cut since they said they were using the Pack Amp Pro kit that is completely plug and play.
So right here, that's something I would never do. Cut the factory harness, especially for a car like that. I wouldn't cut it for a little Toyota Corolla. So imagine a car like this. Right there, they dropped the ball big time.
They cut my main wire harness to the factory amp to tap into. Wires were only covered in electrical tape and tucked back in like I wouldn't notice, and did the same with speaker wires at the speakers. They damaged door panels, so they hot glued my speakers back into location. If they couldn't put it back to OEM, they should have told me that, and not just hacked it back together. I was not out to get them, I just wanted what I clearly stated, and asked for in emails, and
that's not too much to ask for.
This is my experience. I sent over 46 emails back and forth to try and tell them what I wanted in my Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk.
Trackhawk, I want one of those.
I hit key points, and they completely dropped the ball. I wanted a very loud system, borderline SPL/sound quality. A system I could demo nonstop and not have to worry about it. This was going to be a promotional vehicle for a small business that I could take to car shows. After all this, I missed the car show season. I was looking for connections to the manufacturer, so I could be an ambassador that represented them as well. I wanted one manufacturer throughout the whole system, not piece together random components. A real showcase for both their shop and the manufacturer they chose.
Right then and there, I probably would have chose Kicker, JL Audio, shit, probably even Scar. But definitely Kicker or JL Audio, especially for what he's looking for.
Placed in the factory Harman Kardon system, and an amplifier to push the mids and highs. 3 in each of the front doors, 2 in each of the rear doors, and both rear roof speakers. I started with wanting 2 15s in a sealed box, and they picked Helix Car Audio as the
2 15s in a sealed box.
The manufacturer, and said they don't.
I would have advised against a sealed box and 15s, but then again, I heard 15s do incredibly well in a sealed box.
15s anymore, but they still made high-power 12s. So I opted for a ported box instead, since they couldn't do the 15s.
Now look at that. Look at that. Not even enough space for the port to breathe.
I also wanted the box bolted in, but still easily removable since I still take this vehicle to the racetrack.
So that means something lightweight, something that's around 750 watts RMS, that's gonna sound nice and loud. That's not heavy. So that rules out a lot of the high power subs. So budget build.
I did not know what size speakers were in the doors, so I trusted them, and they said 5¼ component sets front and rear. That should be enough. I said that there were more speakers than that and I wanted them all filled. They added roof speakers and completely left out the third front door speaker. I trusted they would be on top of it and figure it out once it was there, and they saw they missed a speaker location, since I was already paying a lot of money for this, but I was wrong. When I checked in my vehicle I mentioned I wanted minimal sound deadener, and I was assured they would only do behind the mid and high speakers.
See? He don't want weight. That's what I'm saying. He don't want no weight. He wants to race.
I even emailed the next day after drop-off, and said I hope you did not cover the hole inside of my doors, and they lied, and said they only did a tiny bit behind the mid and high speakers. Before I even got the vehicle back I saw the project on their Instagram, and I was not happy with the subwoofer box. The high-power heavy subwoofers were all on one side, making all the weight on one side.
I'm big on weight. See? I'm big on weight. I would have had the sub. I love putting the speaker on the opposite side so that it could be balanced. And I also like to have the speakers facing forward because it puts the weight more towards the center rather than the rear.
The high horsepower vehicle, I told them that this was not okay. They fought me and tried to make up every excuse not to fix the issue. They even gave me a partial discount because I was not happy. So I picked it up and was never happy with the situation, but I paid and I left. I had issues from the start, and it just got worse from there. There was a rattle in the front driver door from a loose bolt, so I took off the door panel to fix it. Not a big deal, but that is where I saw what they actually did, and I was furious.
That's why you don't sign nothing.
They covered the hole inside of my door with sound deadener, and then lied about it. I was working 7 days a week, 10 hours days.
When it comes to the interior doors, all you really need is just like one little box square behind the 6x8 or 6x1/2. That's all you really need. The majority of the sound deadener should be in the rear towards the trunk. And did not have the ability to take my vehicle back, and I did not want the sound deadener sitting in the hot sun any longer, so I spent 5 hours on each door every night when I got off work removing 9 pounds of tar like sound deadener, and I still left more than I was expecting inside the doors. I had to have my vehicle back together each night since it is my daily driver. On top of that they made spacers to fill the gap to convert from a 6x9 to a 5¼ speaker size in the front doors. They even spaced the rears that should have been 6½ speakers. And then when I was driving lightly accelerating up a hill the subwoofer box fell on its face, damaging the subwoofers when I asked for it to be bolted in. Hey, for the amount of money he paid, they should have given him exactly what he asked for. But you also said you wanted your sub box to be removable, so they can't bolt it in, but they could have at least put a little plaque towards the front to prevent it from moving back and forth. And I feel your pain on this one.
They were going to fix the issue and damaged subwoofers by making me a new ported box. But then they told me they don't even make subwoofers anymore. They had to look and source them from somewhere else that had them in stock. How was I supposed to promote Helix products when they don't even make what they gave me anymore? It was all or nothing. I wanted a total refund and my vehicle back to OEM. That is where the contract came in. My system was not elevated to a higher standard, it was downgraded with smaller speakers. The mids and highs actually sounded better and louder once they put the factory speakers back into it. This was a recommendation from Colorado Cars and Coffee from Facebook, so I thought it was going to be great, but I was let down. If they see this, I hope they take claim, because honestly I don't blame the shop or the technicians. I blame the one guy reading my emails that was supposed to be the system designer. You know what they say, if you want something done right, do it yourself.
So right.
So I did my own research and found all the parts one needed on.
See, look, kicker. As the interior, all kicker. For the subs, I like the subs, but
On eBay and Amazon and started ordering. I fell back on the tried and true trusty Kicker brand. I had emailed the Kicker help desk over 51 times, and I have to give Brett Nicely a shout out because he really answered all of my questions. He even tossed in new Kicker speaker grill emblems for free since I ordered some apparel. I have had great experience with other generation Kicker equipment. I had two L5s in my Ford Lightning that I actually bought used.
Bouncing.
I played them non-stop, and they never skipped a beat. They even outlasted my first amp. I sold them with the vehicle since they were in a custom box that fit behind the seat. I chose Kicker mainly because they answered all my questions, plus I wanted reliability, and the most badass prefabricated box out there.
Now, as far as this box, I just wish they would put some Q classes up in there. Like if they could sell it to me without those subs in there, I'll throw some Q class 12s in that thing. Bet you they sound off.
That happened to be the ported Kicker quad box. Preloaded with 4 L7s, and it came with huge brackets to mount it in. I used the recommended KXA 2400.1 amp to push it. They had all the correct size speakers and all the amps to go with it. 6x9 component sets and 3.5 coaxial for the fronts. 6.5 components for the rears and 3.5 coaxial for the rear roof locations.
He's doing
Using
it
the
right.
Marine KXMA 800.
Look at that. That looks nice. I wonder why he went with the Marine. And he got a capacitor. Probably should have went with an extra battery. But
Those two high-powered amplifiers. My first part one installed was a high-power pure power alternator. I had to find out what size belt I needed, and this took me a few tries stepping it down size by size. They kept squealing if they were too big. I ended up buying 5 belt sizes and returning a few I didn't use. Upgraded the big 3 with all 0 gauge for power and ground, and used inline circuit breakers to...
see, he did an even better job than the car audio shop. He did an even better job than them. Like that, it's clean. Like, see, if you want something done right, you do it yourself.
protect everything. I used a power distribution block for the grounds near the capacitor. I made a custom bracket out of aluminum to mount the circuit breaker closest to the battery. I hammered out a new battery hold down since I replaced the battery with the excess battery. It was slightly larger. Brett nicely highly recommended the upgraded battery. Then added a 50 farad Rockville capacitor to help keep super solid voltage levels. Everything else was straightforward plug and play. All it took was time. I picked a weekend so I could work late nights to get it all done. There was very minimal trimming to fit the 3.5 coaxial in the front doors and the rear roof brackets, but nothing a little Dremel work couldn't fix. All the other speakers bolted right in. I used the PAC Amp Pro audio interface and the PAC speaker connector harness.
There you go right there.
The harness made everything simple plug and play, no wire cutting at all, using the OEM speaker harness from the factory amplifier. The Amp Pro ran front and rear channel RCAs, and the amplifier split the signal and ran additional subwoofer channel RCAs to the subwoofer amp. I fixed the wire harness properly with solder and shrink wrap. I laid everything out on a board in the rear under the floor, with a center bolt and raised dowel legs to support it. I still want to carpet it, make a floating trim panel, but my router and wood tools were stolen out of my old apartment garage. With Brett's help, I got the amps dialed in, and it turned out amazing. When I am driving alone, I blast it full tilt, no issues, voltage is stable even at idle. I do enjoy disrupting the silence.
By the space of it, looks like that port needs more space to breathe. So he probably gets a lot of rattle.
After all that, my whole system, including the alternator and battery, I only spent 1/3 of the price that I was originally charged.
See, he spent all that money and didn't get what he paid for. Moral to the story, if you want something done right, you do it yourself. Because a lot of these car audio shops, they focus on quantity rather than quality.